Let's talk about Riesling. Riesling is one of those grape varieties that wine experts often say, hey, it's the greatest grape variety in the world, and I think we should ask why they say that. And secondly, we should say, why is it that the consumers don't get the message?
I think two things. I've actually heard Hugh Johnson's, one of your friends, Brit friends, I mean.
And a Riesling.
No, this is his favorite grape,
yes.
Riesling, and I've always, and actually when I started studying wines, it was Bordeaux and Burgundy French wines and Riesling from Germany. So I have fond memories. I went to a German tasting the other day. We started with the 1921. We started with the 1921 Trockenbaron Auslese. So this is at Le Bernardin.
Why did you continue?
I'll show you the menu later. But I think there is something about it. First of all, low in alcohol. You know, we're talking about 8 to 10% in alcohol. Easy to drink, and great with food.
All of those things are why we think it's good. And of course, that thing of it's supposed to express its place.
I think it does.
Yeah. Do you reckon that, Matt?
No other grape variety exceeds it. I mean, except Pinot Noir. If you said in the world of white grapes, and I'm including here, of course, Chardonnay, Sauvignon Blanc, Arnaz, choose your poison. No other grape variety except Pinot Noir is more expressive of sight than Riesling. Proof of this, of course, comes from Germany above all. You've been to Germany, many other people have been to Germany, you've got these steep slopes, you have, it's like a slate roof in the Mosel-Saarlouis, and it is astonishing through the vehicle of Riesling, the difference between one tiny site and another tiny site. And then you go to Australia's Clare Valley, and again, you have maybe not that extreme place specificity, but there is no question that what they're doing in Australia with Riesling is highly site-specific. I think you're absolutely right.
If you like minerality, I think that's really what it's coming from. That minerality of the soil coming up into the taste and into the nose and into your mouth. I think that's what it does. But again, I'm going to go back to that food thing because Alsace. Let's even talk about where good Riesling comes from. You mentioned Clare Valley. I know you got married in Alsace. Is that
yes,
right?
This is right here. On
Okay,
this label right here.
That's
this
where,
little church.
That's where you got
And I
married.
can see
This
you,
is,
Matt.
this is,
there you are.
we
Yes.
were right there. This church goes back to the 12th century, and there was this giant book. This, by the way, is a wine called Clos Saint-Une from the producer named Trimbach, and Hubert Trimbach, who is the co-owner, was my best man.
And there you are in your bathers and your bow tie.
I had.
What a sight.
It was a wonderful wedding. No one was invited. It was just the two of us, and
saved a
Hubert
lot
was
of
the
money.
best man, and then there was Marie-Laure, was the best woman, and you went into this tiny, tiny little church. It was a fortified church in the sea of vines. You could see it, on this sort of thing. There's all these vines there, and you walked in, and there was an enormous book, almost the size of this table. And you opened it up, and you had to sign your names, and so the book went back in blood. Look, this was France. You get married. C'est du, monsieur.
But
coming back, Alsace is certainly.
But I'll tell you
And
something. There is something
place.
about that lifestyle. Okay, that whole thing about lifestyle. People involved in wine, they want to get married in vineyards, and that's what they're doing around the world. People are getting married around grape varieties.
But don't you think that what Matt's saying there is sense of place par excellence? Because sense of place is not just what the soil is and how the wind and the sun go,
it's a whole
but also you were there.
Yes.
It's people.
Right.
Now, are we saying that Riesling producers are particularly good at bringing the passion of their place into the wine?
I think the Riesling producers, along with Pinot Noir producers, are the most maniacal in creating wines that they attempt, anyway, to have speak of place. I don't know whether you, Oz, or Kevin.
But they have to have a passion, especially with Pinot Noir.
Yes.
You have to have, if you're growing Pinot Noir or Riesling, you have to have a passion, especially if you're in Germany, trying to walk up. I was there last year, I couldn't walk up the slopes. Maybe that's age. I
Some of the
walk up those
places
slopes.
in the Mosel Valley, they have these little pulley trains.
Oh, yeah.
And you sit on the train, and you snip the grapes as you go up on the train, and then they let you down again the next row.
There is something I would like to put in, and coming back to Alsace for a moment, where the Rieslings are traditionally dry.
And higher in alcohol.
Yes, somewhat higher in
Okay.
alcohol. But we were all raised, I know Cameron and I were, and I suspect you in England as well, that red wine with red meat, white wine with fish. In Alsace, they serve Riesling with meat because they don't really have any tradition of red wine. They basically, if they drink red, it's usually Bordeaux. The producers trade bottles with the Bordeaux producers. And, it is one of the things about Riesling that people forget with dry Riesling, is that it has such a punch of flavor and it has such beautiful acidity that it really can take on things like red meat. I'm thinking specifically of sausages, things that have a certain amount of fattiness to them. And it works beautifully. And when you go to Alsace, and you have what they call a choucroute garni, which is sauerkraut garnished with
Thank you.
sausages.
Look
and
at that.
whatnot.
We even got a German.
You even have a
Riesling
German
brought-
Riesling?
the Grunhauser. Yeah,
Oh,
we'll drink
this
that
is
in a
wonderful.
moment.
Label.
This
Look
is
at this
wonderful.
label.
Yeah.
Show
And this
them
is
the label, Kevin.
this is
This
the
is-
old style German label. And what's happened in Germany and also in Alsace and around the world, trying to make them user friendly.
Yes.
This is the old Gothic script. I can't read it. I don't understand it. I won't buy
So
it.
beautiful.
I mean, it's one of the great wines in the world.
I love this wine, but actually, it would take me 5 minutes on the label to work out what the vintage was.
Yeah.
Now, I think, is this one of the points about Riesling that the consumers have a problem with, that actually it's difficult to understand, partly because a lot of the best producers are Germanic, and the Germanic producers are obsessive about detail, and partly because they don't know whether it's going to be sweet, medium, or dry.
Identity crisis.
Bingo.
Identity
Bingo.
crisis.
I think you've put your finger
Well,
on it.
there is somebody out there right now, a friend Dan Berger out in California, who's going to put a sweetness level on all German wines throughout the world. On the highest level, being the sweetest, and the lowest level being the driest. Let's make a point here right now. German Rieslings can be dry. They can be semi-dry. They can be sweet. They can be semi-sweet. They can be very sweet. In Alsace, can I make it? You correct me if I'm wrong. About 95% dry in Alsace. Would you go along with that?
Yeah, probably somewhere between 90 and 95.
And in Australia,
Right.
101% dry.
Okay,
Yes.
there you go.
And
that's-
drier than almost any other wine in
And
the world.
they tout that as well. So this is a difficulty for consumers to understand. And I'm going to come back to my own state, New York State, and I think the Finger Lakes District produces some of the best Riesling in the world. Once again, on the lake, Finger Lakes,
Yes.
on the slopes, the soil coming through, and making both dry and sweet Riesling.